Okay, looks like we're on. Hello, Star Fam. I'm back in my office for a little bit, and I'm here doing uh the eclipse video, the solar eclipse video that's happening on April 8th. Um, there's a lot of hype on it. There's a lot of gloom and doom. There's a lot of fear mongering, um and it looks like when I show it to you, it is a pretty intense eclipse, just the way it's lined up. But we'll have a look at it. First, what I want to do is share with you the celestial mechanics of an actual eclipse so you can see, understand what's going on as the eclipse is taking place. So you can kind of have a better handle on it instead of paying attention to all of these kind of social media people. So this is an image. It shows it pretty well. It's kind of funny because it says apocalypse at the end. So lunar eclipse. The lunar eclipse was what happened on March 25th. That was when we had a full moon and the Earth comes in between. So it would cast a shadow on the moon, right? So the sun and the moon are opposing each other. That's why the moon is full. And then the Earth comes between. And then that makes the lunar eclipse. Now, why? So here's an important point is what makes an eclipse an eclipse? And I'll show it to you when I show you the astrology chart. It's to understand that the moon travels 5 degrees different off of the ecliptic than the sun and the planets do. So this is why every full moon you don't have an eclipse, or every new moon there's no eclipse, because it's out 5 degrees out of alignment. The nodes, what are the nodes? The nodes are simply the path of the moon where it hits the actual ecliptic, that 5 degree difference when it actually crosses. So when there's a full moon or new moon at the same time that there's a crossing of the eclipse of the ecliptic, this is how you get um, an eclipse, because that path, the moon and the sun are crossing at the same time. That path, that's what makes an eclipse. Okay, other times when there's a full moon, they're off a little bit. So you won't have an eclipse. So the nodes is the path of the moon hits the ecliptic, which is the path of the sun and the planets. So that's what makes an eclipse. It's important to know. Um, so what makes a lunar eclipse? I just explained the lunar eclipse, right? It's when you have a full moon and so the moon and the sun are opposite each other, shining full. The moon is shining full, and the earth passes in between. And it blocks out the interaction between the moon and the sun, which will cast a shadow on the moon. Then solar eclipse is where it gets really interesting, is when the moon actually passes in front. So you have a new moon. So a new moon is when the sun and the moon are conjunct, and it's usually seen like off like this. But when you have it when the nodes are crossing, they're like that. That's a solar eclipse. Now, what's interesting is that there is a lot of information about the moon being an artificial satellite, uh, borderlines conspiracy, borderlines, like a lot of stuff. So you can look that up for yourself. But it's a rare ratio that's not seen anywhere else in our known solar system, possibly the known universe, where the moon is exactly 400 times smaller than the sun, and the sun is exactly 400 times the distance. So, so that's what makes it look the same size. So that's what makes it possible for the moon to block the sun, and they're seen at the same size, even though the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun. That placement is not random. It's what a lot of conspiracy people say. I kind of believe it because I know a lot about astronomy, and yeah, it's not right. It's just not right. And then when you look into what an eclipse does, it makes more sense why it's not right. And I'm going to show you through images of what it does. Um, okay, so the next one is a joke. So lunar eclipse, solar eclipse, apocalypse. Because the apocalypse is when the sun goes in front of the moon and burns the earth. Okay, so that's like the joke. Um, I'll share some images so to give you an idea of what. Here's a joke image. Full moon tonight. This is the Foucault pendulum. I'll show you another image that's more scientific, but it's marking with sand the the movement, and it's supposed to be an even movement. And what happens, well, really, when you get an eclipse, it shakes, and I'll show you that. That's just a joke image. I'll show you the real image. I'm getting to it here, right here. This is the pendulum. Maurice Alias. You can look that up. The Foucault pendulum. So there was a pendulum here that's, I think this was done in Paris, right? Yeah, 1950s in Paris, right? Let me move my camera over a little. Let me see something here. Okay, I'm just going to explain this image to you. Here's the sun. Here, you see where my mouse is? I don't know. I hope you can see it. Might want to draw. Hang on one sec, because I'm not sure. You can see. Oh, but you know what? Yeah, it's black. Okay, it's fine. Okay, let me erase this. I thought I can choose a color, but I don't want to worry about that now. Okay, so this area here, this is highlighting the eclipse. So here's the sun seen normally. Here's the approach of the eclipse. Here's approaching totality here. And here's the ending. And then the sun returns back to normal. Okay, so that's what this part of the image is. So what this is showing here is on a normal day, during the course of a normal day, the swing direction appears to rotate clockwise due to the rotation of the Earth. So here you can see the numbers. So one. So here the pendulum is swinging, right, back and forth, and it's moving. It's seen as moving. So it makes this mark. 1, 2, 3, right? So on. So it's seen as making that mark because the Earth is spinning. What happens is as the start of the eclipse, solar eclipse, the swing direction begins to rotate rapidly anti-clockwise. So here we have 1, 2, 3, and then you can see 4, 5, 6. It starts to go backwards. And then after the eclipse, 7, 8, 9 swing goes back, returns. After the eclipse, there's a return to normal as the direction of the rotation resumes its slow change clockwise. Okay, so what is it saying is we have the pendulum swinging clockwise, normal. Then when the eclipse happens, it goes anti-clockwise. And then when the eclipse is over, the pendulum swings back to clockwise. Now, we do a study called the Weaver of Destiny in my master class, and we teach about the weaving of anti-clockwise direction is actually disharmony. So it's a disharmony energy, but it also nullifies the clockwise direction. So I'll explain when we look at a chart, because this is going to help you understand the energy you could feel during an eclipse, which makes a lot of sense. But a lot of astrologers don't take the time, or they don't know the celestial mechanics and what's moving around and why you're feeling the energy. They just say like, okay, it's passing over Nineveh, it's the end of the world. So, uh, okay, I can't, I mean, whatever. All right. Okay, so now here is a chart. Now this is where I'm going to explain to you. Um, clockwise, counterclockwise. This is what I teach. This is like my secret masterclass special course, right? See how the system shows you the chart, the numbers of the houses going in counterclockwise? Okay, that's because we're moving against the system of harmony. So this is why we look at a chart as the karmic lessons we're here to learn, or the hard energy we're here to face, or the imprisonment of our in the body and earth. You have to go through a grind in order to, or you could look at it in a bright way, say the friction of moving through in a against the grain actually builds up the lessons and stamina to reach the next level. So all of that stuff is kind of what we discuss. But just so you know, the east is here. Ascendant is the east, right? The sun rises in the east. So this is in the morning. It moves from the east to the west. This is the afternoon. Midheaven is the highest point of the sky. And it goes to the west. This is the descendant. It sets. So we should look at this as this is what we teach. One, should be the first house, second house, third house, because the sun is born again. And if we look at astrotheology, cosmology of the stories like Egypt, this is the story of Set, Horus. Horus is the sun. Horus rises in the east. By time Horus moves to the west, he's known as Set, the evil brother. He loses his eyesight. He loses one of his eyes. Then he goes into the underworld and becomes the dark brother. Then he rises again and becomes the young Horus. So that whole story of Horus and Set, the twin brothers, or the brothers that fight, this is just the story of the sun going through its normal motions of the day, rising in the east, setting in the west, going into darkness, going into the west, dying, setting. This is why the ancient Egyptians called death westing, because there's no death, it's just cycles. Anyway, that's the natural motions of the solar system, of the universe, east to west. We read a chart from east to west backwards. We go, we go east to the south, to the west, to the north. That's normal. How we read it is east to the north, to the west, to the south, back to the east. So against the grain, all right? So now when you have an eclipse, it's disrupting that movement that we know. And I equate this to white noise. So you have this frequencies that we're all feeling with the planets. They're making their noises. Their quantum entangled strings are pulling us in all these different directions. And we're just rolling with it and we're going through the challenges. And then what happens when an eclipse happens? It totally blocks out the energy, which is quite interesting. So we're reading this as astrologers and saying the planets are doing this and this and this and that. But guess what? What's the transferring of the energy of these planets? It's actually the sun. The sun interacts with our magnetosphere. The sun is interacting with the planets and delivering this through photons, light. So what's interesting is that energy gets blocked on a solar eclipse. So now we look at this and it's like, well, what's getting blocked? See, this is what I'm talking about. Astrologers don't look at it that way. They go, the planet is doing this, these planets are doing that, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, well, what's getting blocked? Like, how about we just look at that? Because that's what's getting blocked. And then when it resumes, then that energy will pick up again. So usually, if you've ever experienced a solar eclipse, it actually gets really quiet. And you're left with pretty much yourself. You're like, oh, whoa, who am I really? This is why I'm doing these sessions where I'm saying to people, let's empower you during this eclipse. What is your true alignment? how does this chart relate to your personal sidereal blueprint, your natal chart, when we lay it on top of each other? This is what we really look at. We're not looking at the planets and what they're doing. We want to know what they're doing, but during the eclipse, they're not doing anything. How about that? You're by yourself, not doing it, not getting influenced for once by these planets. How about that? No one tells you that. But if you look at the what I just showed you, the simple images I just showed you, it's exactly what's happening. So you're left to your own devices during this 4-hour period, to your own energies, to your own thoughts, your own power as a sovereign human without the influences of the planets and the constellations. How about that? Okay. So, but it's important to know what is really going on in the sky, and that's something we can talk about now. So, what I see here is pretty intense, actually. Um, First of all, you have okay, first of all, it's going on in Pisces. I have no idea what tropical astrology is saying. I pay zero attention to tropical astrology or to most astrology, believe it or not. I don't really practice astrology through astrology. I do practice astrology through ancient astrotheology. Um, so with that being said, this story that's playing out is what I'm saying is biblical. It's like South Node in Virgo. Remembering the primordial sky mother goddess, the primordial mother, where we all come from, where we all return. And the sky mother goddess is pretty much on all the sarcophagus lids in Egypt. When I was going through Egypt, looking at all the sarcophagus lids, they all had the sky mother goddess, which is Nut, which then relates to the net, which then relates to the Virgo, which then relates to the Isis. And I didn't cue that image up, and you've probably seen it so many times if you follow me. It's the Isis and Horus, and then Jesus and Mary. So actually, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pause it because I do want to share that image just in case you haven't seen it. So give me 1 second. Okay, so here's the image I was talking about. This image, this is the primordial mother. This is Isis and Horus, Mary and Jesus, holding the sun, the primordial sun, the first son of God, child of God. This is the primordial mother. This is Mary. This is Virgo. So this is who we are remembering. This is the part where your south node, when we're looking here, let's get back to the chart. We're looking here at the south node. It's in Virgo. This is remembering the primordial mother, where we come from. The Sophia energies, the Sophia codes. This is powerful. And we are in the age of Pisces. And this is where the story kind of goes on, right? So let me get my pen back out and get writing again. Hang on a second. So here's where the story goes on. So this is remembering the primordial mother. Then we look here opposite of that. We have the healing journey that we're all on a collective, Chiron. Then we have the sun, the moon, Mercury. All this is conjunct. This is remembering our healing journey. We're here to heal the duality and polarities. We're here to heal the damage that the patriarch took over our religion and made it crowd control instead of um, worship of our creation and our God selves. So we have forgotten all of that. We have forgotten the ways of the primordial mother, what the primordial gives. Um, and that brings up the past few months, a lot of charts that I'm reading of people coming to me are having this. They have Virgo rising on some level, North Node in Virgo, Sun in Virgo, and they have this deep burning energy of awakening this dormant, powerful feminine energies within them. And it's goddess. It's not sexual or anything like that. It's like mother, primordial, you know. So that's what we have here. This is what we're looking at here. And Mercury, of course, is the messenger of all of that. Um, then we have here Neptune and Venus. This is the visions and the the dreams of this feminine energies, Venus energies. The Venus, the symbol of Venus is a circle over a cross. Symbology shows that this circle means spirit, values spirituality over matter. The cross is matter. The circle is spirit. So this is what we're looking at. We're looking at what are the feminine values on our healing journey. And it was just very powerful and remembering the Sophia. Now, this is what kind of worries me a little bit. Any astrologer will tell you Mars and Saturn, no matter if they're conjunct or not, it's trouble. This is military energy, period. This is military energy. Now, it's in Aquarius, so I would like to say uh, military energy or control for Aquarian age energy for the people. So this is to dominate or control what's happening for the people or to control the people. And this is where it gets tricky. This is what I think a lot of people are picking up energetically is remember when the eclipse happens, all of these energies go away for about 4 hours. All of this stuff that I'm explaining to you now simply disappear for 4 hours. So what happens? This is what I'm worried about. What happens when we have an energy of possible control, military type control? When it goes away, what happens when you have an unaware dominating military energy feel the loss of control? This is the problem that I'm seeing because we're astrologers talking about the loss of energy and we're looking at it as like, okay, bring it on. I don't want to be influenced by stuff anymore. But what happens to the unaware person, primarily the military? They're unaware of divine consciousness working through them. They don't want to hear that shit. So imagine that now. And then they all of a sudden, because you can't outrun the influences of the zodiac. It's clearly in the Hermetica. Here's the Hermetica here. Pick it up. Go to the chapter, the zodiac and destiny, and read all about it. The zodiac is actually controlling humans. That's what it's designed for. So now imagine that. So this is a problem. This is an issue. So what choices will we make? Now we look at it sextiles this Uranus and Jupiter in Aries. So Jupiter and Uranus in Aries is an awakening. This is a big expansion and awakening to a new way, period. Then it sextiles this Mars and Saturn in Aquarius. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, Saturn is the ruler of Aries. Jupiter brings expansion to all of this. So if you have a utopian mindset, and we are doing consciously remembering the ways of the primordial mother, all of these types of beautiful words and energies that we can align to, then great. But what if you don't have that language and you have this energy of conquering? Because Jupiter and Mars and Saturn is conquering. It's a conquer energy. But if it's an aligned with conquering over illusion, then we're talking good stuff. But what if we don't have this vocabulary? What if we don't have this understanding? Especially when the vibration just cuts off and we're in panic mode because we're going, the ones who are unaware are going, well, what just happened? Things feel different. Oh, this is it. Something is happening. Did somebody cut the switch off? there could be that happens. This is what I'm worried about. Now, so anyway, just bringing light to that. All right. And they all are in the same part of the sky at the same time. Now, what's amazing is probably most astrologers are going to miss this. You see this ALC? This is the Pleiades. The Pleiades, depending on where you are on the United States, the totality is going to happen at different times, but primarily this is the new moon chart. Um, you're going to see if it's really dark, it's possible you can see the Pleiades. So I pulled up this chart. I pulled up Stellarium. I want to just take a look to see if I can share with you what we could be looking at. Um, Let me move a few things around. Oh, hang on a sec. Okay. This is Stellarium. I'm moving my screen around. All right, let me get my mouse. Okay, so that's Stellarium. We had that number at 27. So I'm gonna go to, I believe that's what it was. So anyway, here you have the sun and the moon. Obviously, it's really small. Um, Let me move some stuff. So here's the view of the sky, which I want to show you, right? So imagine, I'm gonna make this a little bigger. So imagine here where my mouse is, this is the eclipse, right? This is the moon right in front of the sun. If you're in the path of totality, it could be dark in the sky. Check out what's here, the Pleiades right up there. So you have Jupiter. I remember we're looking at like star lore energy, right? So you have Jupiter, the planet of expansion. We can see it. You should be able to see it. And the Pleiades, the divine messages of our galactic family up in the sky at an eclipse. And we are part of this photon belt that we're passing through now. Um, and the Pleiades are part of that, which is why we are receiving Pleiadian type messages now, because the photon belt is made of light, and we should be able to receive information through the light energy, which is why we're seeing an uptick in all of this Pleiadian starseed light energy communications. This is what we're looking at. All right. So this is going to happen exactly on the eclipse. You're going to see the eclipse, and you can see Jupiter, and you see the Pleiades. Now, how amazing is that, right? And then Orion is going to be to the left if you can see it. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it. All right. So beautiful scene. I'm going to close this because it's taking up a lot of memory. All right. So that's what we have in the sky. This is ALC. ALN is Orion, the Almahim. This is the belt star above the M42 nebula, and then Sirius, which is Isis, the brightest star in the sky. So all of that will be in the sky during this eclipse. And now the most important thing is, as all that is going on, the biggest planet of transformation is Pluto. Pluto is in Capricorn. Just entering Capricorn, getting rid of all of the old paradigm bullshit. And it's having a slow goat type energy. The goat is the one who achieves. It's the mountain goat. That's Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. Big achievement. That's Pluto is just working its way. It's away from all these planets. It's like, keep me away from you, but I'm connected to you through aspects. But I'm doing my work in the dark. Right? It's underneath the east, the west here. So it's in the dark. Let me do my work. I'm changing. Virgo is also in the dark, the south node. Remember who I am. Remember that you don't exist without me. We all come from the primordial mother. All living things, humans, are born from the mother. So remember, that's what it's telling us. Okay. Um, I think that's it, guys. I just wanted to, yeah, show you that. So what is this going to be? Um, we'll wait and see on April 8th. Okay, so I hope this was informative for you. It's not fear-mongering at all. I hope you understand the celestial mechanics of it. Um, and that this helps you navigate this next eclipse. It is going to be pretty big. It's going to be beautiful if you make it that way. Okay, that's my phone ringing. So anyway, I'm going to sign off. Happy eclipse, happy new moon.